very abhijna, very learned, because he takes lessons from Krishna. Therefore, Krishna's knowledge is perfect. Therefore, because he talks, because he takes knowledge from Krishna, his knowledge is also perfect. Abhijna. Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naran Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhiraye Nashtaprayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 24, Text 16. Vedaham Adyam Purusham Vedaham Adyam Purusham Avatirnam Swamayaya Avatirnam Swamayaya Bhutanam Shevadhim Deham Bhutanam Shevadhim Deham Vibranam Kapilam Mune Vibranam Kapilam Mune Vedaham Adyam Purusham Avatirnam Swamayaya Bhutanam Shevadhim Deham Vibranam Kapilam Mune. Purusham Tena Sumaya Nam Kapilam Mune Vedaham Adyam Purusham Vatirnam Swamayaya Bhutanam Shevadhim Deham Vibranam Kapilam Mune. Veda, no, aham, I, adhyam, the original, purusham, enjoyer, avatirnam, incarnated, swamayaya, by his own internal energy, bhutanam, of all the living entities, shevadim, the bestower of all desired, who is just like a vast treasure. Deham, the body, Bibranam, assuming, Kapilam, Kapila Muni, Mune, O sage Kardama. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: O Kardama, I know that the original Supreme Personality of Godhead has now appeared as an incarnation by his internal energy. He is the bestower of all desired by the living entities, and he has now assumed the body of Kapila Muni. Please repeat. O Kardama, I know that the original Supreme Personality of Godhead has now appeared as an incarnation by his internal energy, He is the bestower of all desired by the living entities, and he has now assumed the body of Kapila Muni. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this verse we find the words Purusham Avatirnam Swamayaya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is everlastingly, eternally the form of Purusha, the predominator or enjoyer, and when he appears, he never accepts anything of this material energy. The spiritual world is a manifestation of his personal internal potency, whereas the material world is a manifestation of his material or differentiated energy. The word Swamayaya, by his own internal potency, indicates that whenever the Supreme Personality of Godhead descends, he comes in his own energy. He may assume the body of a human being, but that body is not material. In Bhagavad Gita, therefore, it is clearly stated that only fools and rascals, Mudas, consider the body of Krishna to be the body of a common human being. The word Shevadim means that he is the original bestower of all the necessities of life upon the living entities. In the Vedas also, it is stated that he is the chief living entity and that he bestows all the desired necessities of other living entities. Because he is the bestower of the necessities of all others, he is called God. The Supreme is also a living entity. He is not impersonal. As we are individual, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is also individual, but he is the Supreme Individual. That is the difference between God and the ordinary living entities. Presents the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanathimirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Lord Brahma is speaking to Kardama, and then here he is declaring that Vedaham, I know that the original personality of Godhead, Adhyam Purusham Avatirnam, he has incarnated Swamayaya by the internal potency, and then Bhutanam Shevadim Deham, and he is the bestower of all the desires of the living entities. And then Vibranam Kapilam Muni, and he has now assumed the body of Kapila Muni. So Prabhupada is mentioning that Swamayaya, by his own internal potency, Krishna, he descends into this world in innumerable incarnations. And when he comes here, he assumes a form like a human being. Even though he appears to be like a human being, he is not a human being. He is God. He just assumes the form of a human being. And his body is not material. His body is not made up of these material elements that we see all around us. He remains in his Satchidananda, spiritual form, all blissful spiritual form. People who are too much attached to matter, too much attached to, attracted to this material energy, they may see that he is also assumed a human form, and they may not understand the param bhavam ajanantaha. They may not understand the higher nature of Krishna. There are some non-believers, they say that if Krishna is the supreme controller, how can he come as a human being into this world? They are not able to understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead can descend. Avatiranam. So they cannot adjust in their mind that the original Supreme Personality of Godhead can descend into this world and assume a form which apparently looks like a human form. They cannot understand. They try to put conditions on Krishna that you cannot come down here. They accept God as a supreme controller, but they try to control God. You cannot come here, you are not capable of coming here, you cannot be supreme if you come here. These are the arguments of these non-believers. The non-believers say, if God comes here, that means he has a material body. How can God be material? God is spiritual. Some of the non-believers have that much knowledge, that God is spiritual. If God is spiritual, how can you represent him in a picture? How can you represent him in a deity? Because when you draw a picture or when you carve a deity, you are dealing with material elements. You are dealing with marble, you are dealing with some paint, some chemical, whatever, canvas. So, when you do all these things, you are using all the material elements, material energy, and so you are bringing down the Supreme Lord to your level, your material level. You are bringing down God's position to the level of ordinary people. But what these non-believers cannot understand is that because they are so absorbed in materialism, they cannot see finer things. The Vedas, the Sanatana Dharma says that Sarvam idham khalu Brahman. In this world, everything is Brahman. There is nothing called material, matter. If everything is Krishna and Krishna is spiritual, then where is material? If all the energies which are coming from Krishna are divine energies, spiritual energies, where is this, not being divine? For Krishna, all his energies are divine, all his energies are spiritual. For you, one energy may look like painful, one more energy may look like very good, but for Krishna, all energies are his own energies, and they're all divine. Say a government of India is there. It runs a big educational department. In fact, the national midday meal program, what the government runs in partnership with the state governments. That's one of the biggest midday meal programs in the world. So, government is running, spending a lot of money, a big educational department, but government also has to run the prison department or the police department. And in its budget allocation, it allocates money to both. For government, this is one department and this is one more department. For a criminal, this department is very fearful. The prison and jail and all those is very, very fearful. And for him, education department is very nice. Right? So we should understand, for the government, both are department, its own departments. Both are government departments only. And it has to pump in a lot of energy for both. But for a citizen, based on whether he is a criminal or a regular person, the departmental actions are different. Now, can the government head visit education department? Yes, sometimes they go, they sit with children and they eat food there. It will come in all the newspapers, media, how the children, he is taking food and all that. Now, can the same executive head, government head, in its official position as a prime minister or as a chief minister, in his position as a prime minister, let us say, can he visit a prison? Can he go into a police department or enter the prison? He can. He can enter the prison. Simply because he is entering the prison, it doesn't mean that he is same as the prisoner. He has come in an official position. Of course, nowadays even chief ministers and all, they're going to the prison as criminals. But in his official position, yes, he can. Simply because he is also roaming in the prison, it doesn't mean he is an ordinary person. All his bodyguards, everybody is there next to him. He comes with his own energy. He comes with his own arrangements. But along with prisoners, he may plant some trees, do some hoisting, or do some welfare activity, and then prisoners are all next to him and this and that. So this is a wonderful example that Prabhupada gives to understand at a macro level that how God can come to this world. After all, this is his energy, his own energy. Then, if everything is spiritual here, Sarvam idham kalu brahma, all energies are divine, spiritual energies, then what is material then? If the energy is divine, then where is material then? We say material energy. As soon as the living entity concocts God's position, speculates about its own position, that I am the supreme enjoyer, I am the enjoyer, then it becomes material. This table is there, and as long as this table is holding these Bhagavatam books, and it is helping the Bhagavatam session, it remains in its original spiritual aspect. But as soon as I imagine that this table is meant for my glorification, and then I only talk about how great I am, and then how perfect I am, and how I smartly enjoyed this world, then this mic, this table, all these things, they'll become material. Because of my boastful talk, as an enjoyer or as a controller, using all these objects, table and mic, Radha Govinda ki. Because all these things are used by me for glorifying my own achievements as an enjoyer or whatever. Now, this energy gives a reaction. As soon as you misuse these objects, then this energy records the misuse, and then a reaction will be unleashed onto you. As soon as we think, I am God of all that I survey, then this energy, we come under the rules and regulations of this energy. That energy which gives you pain is called material energy. It's actually for Krishna, it is spiritual energy only, his own energy. But as a living entity becomes criminal, this energy transforms into like a police, takes a lathi and tuck, 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 tuck to correct the living entity. It assumes that painful energy form. So this is so when Krishna, he descends into this world, he assumes a human form. He assumes a human form, and that form is spiritual. For him there is nothing material. For him everything is spiritual. His body is spiritual, his energies are spiritual. And then, like when Krishna appeared in front of Devaki and Vasudeva, they first appeared as four-handed. He first appeared as four-handed Narayana, Vishnu. And then he turns himself into Krishna. Now this is the inconceivable potency of Krishna. He can assume any form at his own will. This is called Achintya Shakti. And even though he turned from Vishnu to Krishna, it's not that he gave up Vishnu body. There is nothing called giving up body for Krishna. There is no destruction of his body. That means the previous body is now destroyed. No. Why? Krishna's body is always eternal, permanent, Shashvata. So then, how that body can be destroyed? So his disappearance, his appearance has to be understood carefully. His disappearance means he has decided to make his body disappear from our eyes. Not that his body is getting destroyed now. For an ordinary person, disappearance or death means his body is destroyed. But Krishna's body is not material at any point of time. So his body cannot be destroyed. And there is nothing called death. Not only Krishna's body, even our original soul's body doesn't have death, doesn't have any destruction. So if you remember that Krishna's body is always spiritual, then there is no confusion. Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanamashita. So people, they consider him as an ordinary human being, consider his body as material, and then you will see in the YouTube there are so many videos describing his disappearance, and none of them know what it actually means. The disappearance of Krishna for them means the death, some body, and this and that. But actually, disappearance of Krishna means that he has made himself invisible to this human society. Exactly like a sun, when it sets, it has made itself invisible to the human society here, to this planet. It doesn't mean that the sun is dead. In the beginning days, in some of the religious paths, they used to think sunset means sun dead now. Sun is dead now, and the next day again it will born. They used to think like that. So these people who think that Krishna has died, their thinking is like that. Primitive Muda, Avajananti Mamuda. And Krishna says, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya, Yogamaya Samavruta. And Krishna says, I am covered by this Yogamaya curtain and I am not visible to Mudas. Mudoyam Nabhijanati. This is a very important nature of Krishna that you have to understand. If somebody is foolish, non-believer, and unintelligent, Muda, then Krishna, he behaves or he shows in such a way that his foolishness is only enhanced, and he will not be visible as a Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna reserves the right not to be revealing, manifesting to foolish people and non-believers. He will not. So for Krishna, all are his energies, everything is spiritual for him, and he can assume any form that he wants at his own free will. And he can assume the form of an Archa Vigraha. He can assume. He can assume the form of Archa Vigraha Rupa. Although we might have used these material elements to make the Vigraha, please note that material elements are not material for Krishna. They are his own energy. And he can come into his energy, he can manifest himself in his energy. And once Krishna appears, he is directly Radha and Govinda. One should not see marble anymore, it's an offense. One should not see the stone anymore. Vishnu Shiladi, Gurushu Naramati. If one thinks Vishnu, Krishna as Shila, or Guru as an ordinary person, then is Naraki Buddhi, that is an unintelligent Naraki, hellish mentality. Now Lord has descended as Radha Govinda, and that is Chinmaya form, transcendental form. And he is the original personality of Godhead. His lotus feet is as soft as lotus flower. his body is Chinmaya, all blissful Satchidananda. How you realize this manifestation of internal potency? This is manifestation of internal potency. It is not material. Krishna can switch the spiritual energy to material, material to spiritual, just like that. As I said, as soon as if I start talking about some politics or cricket match, all these things will become material. Krishna turns it into material. And this material energy will be ready to give me pain. This is klesha, klesha purita. All the three kleshas will be inflicted as soon as we think that we are the enjoyers and we are the supreme controllers. So that's why here Brahma is accepting and recognizing that Kapila Muni is the Adhyam Purusham, is the predominator, is the supreme enjoyer. This is an important point that we have to remember. Conditioned soul falsely thinks that it is the supreme, it is the enjoyer. And out of that false imagination, it continuously plans so many, it continuously makes arrangements for so much of enjoyment. Everybody in this world busy making arrangements for enjoyment, without knowing that Krishna is the only enjoyer, is the only predominator, and we are all energies, predominated. We are enjoyed, we are not the enjoyers. He is predominator and we are predominated. This is the difference between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and ourselves. But if the living entity assumes that I am the predominator, I am the enjoyer, and tries to enjoy this world, enjoy this energy, then tapakari, this energy will give innumerable pains and kleshas to those living entities. They come under the rules and regulations of this energy. So these are the fundamentals of Krishna consciousness. We should not think that I have understood all these fundamentals. Now I need some deep pastimes of Radha and Krishna. The pastimes of Krishna and gopis. One should not think. First of all, let us understand how Krishna is the only predominator. You mean to say, I am not an enjoyer? Then what am I doing? I am also enjoying. You are enjoying prasadam. That is allowed. After Krishna enjoys, and we can enjoy. He gives prasadam, we can enjoy. So this is the, we can always enjoy prasadam. Whatever is offered to Krishna, that can be taken as prasad. Whatever given by Krishna, that is taken as prasad. In our life also, whatever Krishna gives, that should be accepted as His mercy and go on with our duties. Sometimes that whatever He gives may be looking very tough to digest, very difficult situation, but still that is His mercy. Whatever comes from Krishna is for my good, for my auspiciousness, and the living entity takes that as his Krishna's mercy and tries to see what he can offer back to Krishna. In all the circumstances, The devotee's mood is to go on giving enjoyment to Krishna. This is the meaning of supreme enjoyments. In whatever may be the situation we are in, always the devotee is seeing or thinking, how can I go on giving enjoyment to Guru and Krishna? This is his mood. The situation may look very bad, very ugly, very difficult, but in that situation also the devotee is calculating, what can I offer to Guru and Krishna for their enjoyment? He will never think that, okay, why did Krishna did this to me? I am such a nice devotee. I never stopped chanting 16. And I am doing all the things, and why did it come to me? It came to you because Krishna's mercy has come to you. If Krishna's blessings are there, you may get more difficulties. So you may have to face. And then when you are in difficulty like that, then you surrender to Krishna more and more, which is all auspicious. That's why Kunti says, please give me more difficulties so that I can see you again and again. So these are the very exalted understanding of God. If this understanding is not to this level, then that religion becomes material religion. They think God to be like themselves. In one of the religious system, the topmost person is saying that God's actions should be explainable. God's actions should be explainable. That means they should be understandable and explainable. And he doesn't know that God's actions are achintya, inconceivable, cannot be understood like that. Then how is it that we are trying to understand now in this Bhagavatam class and in this purport and all that? It's only because we took shelter of a pure devotee. Otherwise, it's impossible to understand Krishna by our own material speculations and calculations. Who can understand his internal energy? Who can understand his material energy? And who can understand this energy, marginal energy, where all is marginal energy? And all these interactions between these energies, who can understand this? Only a pure devotee's revelation can give us a clear idea, and we will be able to understand. That's why Krishna says, if somebody understands my janma and my activities as they are, tattvataha, then he will be liberated. Even in this world, the devotees who understood that Krishna's body is not material, it is always spiritual, chinmaya, chidananda rupa, then he is actually liberated. He is just awaiting to give up this current body, that's all. If somebody deeply understands Krishna's tattva, he is already liberated in this body. He is just awaiting his final going back to Krishna. And then finally Brahma, he also says, Shevadhim means Kapila Muni is the maintainer of all the living entities. He fulfills the desires of all the living entities. Only God is the provider, and we are all provided entities. All our desires have to be provided for, then only we will be able to satisfy our own desires. Without Krishna's permission, his will, no living entity can satisfy his or her desires. So that is the position of the Supreme Lord. He is Varadarshaba, he is the maintainer. And here Brahma is saying that very same Supreme Lord is now appeared as Kapila Muni in the family of Kardama. Any questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. When the Lord appearance is concerned, Lord came through his devotees like Devaki and Vasudeva, like Purusha forms. If we see goddess of fortune forms, if we Sita Devi found in the box, and Goda Devi in Tulsi Vana, and Radharani in lotus flower, how to understand this, Prabhu?
The Krishna's energies and Krishna's pure devotees or associates, they appear according to their own will, according to the Lord's will. They can appear anywhere and everywhere. Even Krishna can also appear from anywhere and everywhere as he wills. Like our Narasimha is here, he appeared from the pillar. He can also decide. Or he can appear in this form, in the Vigraha form, Archa Vigraha form. So, there is no, fixed pattern that God has to appear only like this. Krishna has to appear only like this. There is no fixed pattern. There is no rule and regulation that Krishna has to appear the way an ordinary child appears born into this world. There is no such rule. Krishna is independent of all such rules. Material energy cannot impose rules on Krishna. Krishna is the one who controls this energy. Mayadhyakshena Prakriti. He is the one who controls this energy. But is it that when Krishna comes, he always has to have parents, a man and a woman as his parents? As we have seen, not necessarily. He is known as Stambaja. He is born to a Stamba. And as a Varaha, he came from the nostril of Brahma, Lord Brahma. So that is his Janmasthan. See how Krishna is independent of all this. He doesn't require the help of Lakshmi Devi in order to produce living entities. For example, Lord Brahma, he just came from his Nabhi. He is known as Swayambhu. The Lord can create, the Lord can appear, the Lord can destroy in inconceivable ways, the way he wants. He is not under the obligation or control of anybody or anything. Sometimes he may appear to be appearing like us, sometimes he shows extraordinary appearance leelas. It is up to Krishna. But when he comes, if somebody sees him as an ordinary person, Krishna also appears to be like an ordinary person. His actions, his activities, everything appears to be ordinary. That's why it requires very finer intelligence. It requires the direction of a pure devotee. Then only we will be able to see Krishna's position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any other? Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavats Pranam. Yeah. The material energy that we see, the marble or the brass, yeah, is already even before being carved, is it already spiritual, or when it's carved and then they're installed in the deity installation happens and Lord is invited? When does the transformation happen, Prabhu?
This marble or whatever we are seeing, that is also the divine energy of the Lord. For the Lord is not seeing this as a something separate. it is called separated energy, or here it is mentioned differentiated energy, that's for us. We feel in that energy, it separates us. We get a feeling of separation from Krishna. We don't realize our connection to Krishna. Under material energy, the living entity, he forgets his relation with Krishna. So we feel we are separated. But for Krishna, it is not, that is his own energy. And even that energy also, if you see in the rituals, we worship. We do many rituals also. We offer a nice bed, we do abhishek, snapana, all those things. So, in a certain form, in the universal form, the Lord is accepting all those. But then we wanted to render our services to Krishna. So, at the time of Prana Pratishta, there is an invitation by the pure devotee. When Prabhupada invites, and then the devotees are chanting holy names, the Sankirtana, the Lord assumes the same form as what we have already carved. He first turns himself into what we have already carved, and then descends into this Vigraha as Achavatara, as an incarnation. And once he descends there, for him there is no difference between his body and he. It's the same form actually. He also assumed the same form. So there is no difference between his form and himself. So what we see is actually the Supreme Lord in his eternal blissful form. So this is how we have to see. It's no more a marble or a stone or whatever. Is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, Govinda, Radha, Govinda. So when the pujaris are giving massage to the Archa Vigraha's lotus feet, they are actually directly touching original Krishna. You are touching the original Lord, his lotus feet. And as part of the worship, the pujari has to keep his head at the lotus feet. He is directly touching the lotus feet and is begging the Lord, please forgive my offenses, whatever I have committed, and give me an opportunity to serve more. This is how the devotee, he treats Krishna. Krishna, Prabhupada says in this purport, interestingly, the Supreme Lord Krishna is also a living entity. He is a living being, but he is a supreme living being. You shouldn't. Living entity means like us, is a living entity. We are also living entities. We are not dead matter, and we are not, impersonal. When Prabhupada says Krishna is living entity, he is actually saying he is a personality. But that personality is such a personality that he maintains all other personalities. That is his position. So, there is one more incarnation which I could not mention in the class, and that is the Namavatar. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Here also we are producing the sound. We are producing the sound. It is a material sound. Our sound, it's a material thing, no? Material mouth, material tongue, matter, I am vibrating. It's a sound. But actually, into that sound, in whatever way we have produced that sound, in the same form, Krishna's name will descend as Namavatar. And so when we hear, it is the Sachidananda Nama Rupa. And also simultaneously the sound touches our tongue, tip of the tongue. So we are touching the Lord when we are chanting Hare Krishna. And by the touch of the Lord, we gradually will become warmer and warmer and warmer, and we become fiery. Our consciousness becomes very bright. Then that devotee will be able to see Krishna's day-to-day reciprocation, day-to-day realizations. So that's the description about the Archa Vigraha or the Nama Vigraha, Nama Rupa. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.